We want students starting the year off with class agreements versus teachers' rules. And a big part of that is communicating at all times that this community is theirs, that this space is theirs. It's not the teachers and that they're doing things to please the teacher or follow the teacher. It's really their space. In the classroom, I start the year with students creating the class agreements. So I'm not giving them my rules that they need to follow. It's that I ask them a question: how can we make sure that our friends have fun at school, they feel safe on the inside and the outside, and that everybody can learn? And so then they come up with things like, we're gonna be gentle with friends, or we invite people to play, we share our materials. So all the things that you would consider good behavior in a classroom, they know that the reason why you do these things is because we want our friends to have fun and learn and feel safe at school. When somebody is doing something that is hurting somebody else or is taking away learning from someone else, the language is around that. Like, when you're making that sound, so-and-so is distracted. So it's not, stop making that sound, you're not allowed to make those sounds. There's a reason for it that has to do with the community.
The questions I've asked students is what helps you feel safe, what helps you feel happy, or what helps you feel ready to learn. And just those three categories has helped me with my students, like hear how they define that and use their language. And if I'm not sure about their language, I'll ask them, when you said this, can you tell me more about what that looks like and sounds like? So I think especially with young children, it's important to use their language, what they say, and then ask them more about what that meant. Like, what does that look like? What does that sound like? So really, that's community, right? So community means I'm seeking to understand you. I'm modeling so much in those 6 to 8 weeks, this value of listening to understand someone. I just think it's important as teachers that we live those things out and the struggle of it. And because then we can empathize a little bit more of what they're going to struggle with. So now when I see students doing something and I'm like, whoa, that's not what we agreed on, I have some empathy because I get how hard it is. And so we can just use language that we developed in the year so far. We agree that this is what helps us feel safe, happy, and to learn. How can we try that differently? And so they're like, oh, okay, I wonder, I'm hoping they don't feel like, okay, it's Mrs. Hahn. Ms. Hahn told me to do this, but it's, okay, we agreed on this, so this is what I need, and I'm willing to do this now. So I think there's a willingness because we co-constructed something together. I think that's what community needs to be. But I think we need to revisit it all the time. We need to keep checking in with our students, how are we feeling with those agreements? Is that still working, or is what's not working? How would you improve that? And putting their language around it. So usually, I think that's what it means to me. And I feel okay, we are buying in something together and we're trying to create something together.
I know that we have so much content we got to get through. I know that we are under pressure, and I just think that it's so important to take those 5 minutes, take those 10 minutes out of any day that you can, even if it's once a week, to just really commit to some type of routine or some type of belonging practice, because I think our students are going to be stronger because of it. So if your students are hurting inside and they're not able to grasp the content, then was it even worth it? They have other things that maybe need to be helped to be removed first before they can be their best student self. I think that when you have welcoming routines or any type of routine that specifically focuses on belonging, I think that when you remind students, this is how we're building our family, this is how we're building our community, I think students start to connect those positive elements of what they're learning to the words of community and family, so that they start to see community and family as something really positive that they need in their life. Sometimes kids need that moment to connect the feeling to the words and the concepts to what's going on in the classroom, and then it all starts to click for them. And then it will follow them. It will follow them into the hallways when they need to stand up for something they see is wrong. We always assume, especially as the kids are getting older, that, oh, kids know that this is what belonging is, or this is what love is, or this is what acceptance looks like. And if you really ask them, what does it look like? And if they don't have an answer, then that's an opportunity to teach. And a lot of our students may need that help learning what those things are.
I think in large part, in all of our experiences in education, like there was expectations of behavior, right? Like for me in my school experience was to be quiet, sit still, take notes, don't talk to your peers, don't interact. And here is different. Here at our schools, we're encouraging students to talk, we're encouraging them to collaborate, we're encouraging them to question and to have dialogue. So we show them how to do that, and so it starts with us, like how are we collaborating with the students? And I think in terms of building culture, like we are the first models of that, so how do we get to know somebody, like what kinds of questions are we asking, to know who our students are, what they're bringing to school, what is the difference between a teacher and a coach or a guide. A great coach knows the strengths of his team. I think that's the difference in our relationship building that trust and rapport with the students, getting to know what are their strengths or what prior knowledge do they have, what experiences do they have that they could share as wisdom or as a contribution to the work that they're doing. And I think it just really starts from there, and establishing ourselves as guides, collaborators. We're going to work on this together, giving students options, incorporating their voice, getting their feedback. We give them feedback all the time. I think that's part of it too, is for the teachers to let go a little bit of the control and like being right or just like feeling like you have to have an answer for everything. Sometimes the students have answers, and sometimes they're answers that we wouldn't have come up with on our own. So giving that space for the students to feel like they're also contributing to our spaces, I think has been really important in my experience as a teacher, and especially now as a dean, inviting the kids to like, let's figure this one out together, and just saying those words to them, like, hey, I need your help with something, right? Like it makes all the difference versus like, hey, why did you do this?
How do we put ourselves in a position to love students well? And the only way that I think we are able to do that well is if we put ourselves side by side with our students, that we are curious about them helping us understand from their experience what that looks like, what that sounds like to them, and that we're willing to be side by side and ask them to teach us how to do that better.